Intensity is a tool that is massively underutilized by people in League, and I can guarantee that if you incorporate intensity correctly, you will see massive improvements in your gameplay and win rate. So what is intensity? I would define it as how much effort you are giving in your games. Let's use a non-league example. Intensity is a massively talked about topic in the fitness industry because of how important it is for muscle growth. When weight training, you're going to see the most progress if you're training sufficiently close to failure, really being intentional in the movements, and pushing yourself each and every time you go. If you rock up to the gym and don't increase the weight and aren't putting forth all of your effort, sure, it's better than nothing, but it will massively limit the amount of growth that you see and how fast you get that growth. The same thing applies in League. If you rock up to your games and aren't giving true effort with intent, you're massively decreasing your chances of winning that game. You have to be thoughtful and intentional if you really want to be able to push past your plateaus. You can't expect to be able to just play enough mindless games and get past your limits.
You don't just have to take it from me either. Here's a tweet from Potent231, who is the highest ranking top laner in EOS and was rank 1 on the server as well. Quality over quantity. One of the biggest reasons why people struggle to climb is because they play mindlessly with no goal in mind. Playing 10 to 20 games in a single session without learning anything, brain rot. It's important that you play few games in a session, 3 to 5, that you play with a goal in mind for that session and rest properly in between. This will allow you to learn much quicker as you'll be focusing on your games with something to improve in mind, and honestly enjoy the game much more in the process. Play games with intent, have a goal in mind for the session, and avoid spamming games mindlessly. That is intensity. Intensity also has another important benefit mentioned in Potent's tweet, which is with learning and improvement. If you aren't giving all of your effort into your games, how will you ever know if you're making mistakes because you actually didn't know the right decisions, or just because you weren't trying hard enough? If you are making intentional choices in your games, then you'll be able to know exactly what you need to work on based on what happens in those games. So what does high intensity look like in League? It can look fairly different for a lot of different people, but these are things that I would ask you to think about. Are you being distracted by other things going on in your life or environment? Are you fully focused and thinking about the game from champion select? Are you using champion select and loading screen to create a game plan? Are you assessing the game when you're coming out of base? Are you committing hard decisions when you make them? Are you communicating with your team about things that you need or plays you want to make? All of these things are things that I constantly need to keep asking myself when I feel like I'm not playing with high enough intensity. There's a reason people don't naturally play with intensity, and that's simply because it's more difficult and taxing. It's way easier to just walk out of base and alt-tab to look at something else, rather than critically think about the map state in your next play. It's easier to go with the flow and let plays happen as they do, rather than be the one to dictate the flow of the game. That's the difference between people who climb and people who plateau. Now, I feel like there are at least a few people thinking that this is cringe and they don't like the thought of being a tryhard. If that's you, I would want you to really ask yourself why you're playing the game then. Are you playing it because you want it to be easy and so you can just relax and still push past your limits? If so, then trying to climb in League probably isn't for you, and it'll be much more difficult to find success. If you worry about people calling you a tryhard, so what? League is a personal journey and you want to achieve your own personal goals. It won't be so cringe when you actually reach those goals. Trying is what makes the game fun. Don't be a passive player in the game. Be the one to call the shots, put real effort in, and take it seriously. Bring intensity into everything you do in life, and you'll see how much quicker progress will come. If you go through life not giving your all into the things you love, you'll be left to wonder what could have been different if you did.